This Guitar Interactive magazine feature is brought to you by the orange Oriverb Orianthi signature amplifier and the limited edition Crush 20 RT. Visit orangeamps.com for more information.
So, Orianthi, absolute pleasure to chat with you. Always is, but particularly special when you've got brand new music out now. You're back with this brand new single, a new album that's coming. What can you tell us about it so far?
I'm really excited. Yeah, this record came together really organically with my band. We recorded at Robbie Krieger's studio out here in LA. So went down to Love Street Sound. And, you know, Robbie's such a legend, and letting me use his space was such a, sweet thing. And I'm really grateful for that. And I produced half the record myself, and then had legend Kevin Shirley produce the rest of it. So it was really cool, and got my band in there, and it was, honestly, really easy, really fast, really easy. We most of the tracks have a really live feel to them because they are pretty much live. Like we probably cut them 3 or 4 times, and then chose the best one, and then added some backgrounds and, whatnot, and a few fixes and whatnot. But ultimately what you're hearing is very live, and I wanted to keep it that way.
Absolutely. Now, we've got to hear a couple of the tracks from there, and of course you just dropped Some Kind of Feeling. Now, I understand that's going to be the title of the record as well, yeah?
I believe so at this point, unless I change.
Still deciding. So, well, that's an interesting point. So, because a lot of artists, it's like that, even painters and what have you. Every now and then there'll be a piece where it's kind of like, I don't really want to settle on it until it's finished. And is that how you always operate, or is this album just a little bit different in that way?
No, I mean, this one sort of feels like, I think, because everything was kind of going on a feeling. Every song is sort of a little different, like from Ghost to First Time Blues to Some Kind of Feeling. They're kind of a little different sounding, like, not style-wise, but sort of in a way. Like some people, like Some Kind of Feeling kind of sounds Motown. It's sort of like blues, country, pop, I don't know. And then Ghost sounds like a pop ballad, and then, and then you got First Time Blues, which is like kind of rock blues. So I don't know. It's kind of like, every song is going on a feeling, and I think that's why I think that kind of title sums it up somewhat. So
yeah. Of course, no, that makes perfect sense. So, as you mentioned, you're working with Kevin Shirley on this one. So, I mean, overall, in general, do you enjoy being produced when you're? Because you're saying you're getting involved in the production side of the stuff as well. So, is it a little bit of a mixed bag? As sometimes it's like you just want to be able to get that sound out that's already in your head, and other times working with a producer just allows you just to sit back and just focus on the writing and the playing?
Yeah, I mean, I produced my first record, so I learned how to produce and engineer when I was really young. I went and studied it, so I kind of wanted to do it again, and I love doing it. I do a lot of stuff here myself, and and even when I'm in the studio working with different producers, I kind of do sort of co-produce. Like I'm very hands-on. Like I'm like, no, I want my tone like this. No, I want to re-sing it like this. No, like I'm kind of bossy in a way. So it has to be the right producer to work with me, because, unless I really respect them, I'm not going to trust them. So if that makes sense, to really
absolutely
make a record that, or to waste my time or their time, us going in together, because otherwise it just feels like, if it's not going to be the right fit, I kind of know straight off the bat. Like when I meet them for dinner or drinks or whatever, and we chat about what we're going to do, I know if that person is the right one to produce my record. And not only from their body of work that I've looked at before, but as a person, their personality, they've got to be like very alpha, because I am.
Okay.
To be very like, they've got to be very really opinionated in the sense of what they're looking for, and that way there's no wavering. It's like, I think you should do this, or maybe I think we need to do this. We need to get this mic this way. This drum sound needs to sound like this. I love that in a producer. I need that sort of situation. So my cat's
That's it. Yeah, exactly. It makes perfect sense that there's no time to waste, especially these days where astronomical bills and what have you, and it's not just like endless time in the studio. So you want these decisions made quickly. Just to turn the clock back a little bit, I mean, I'd love to focus on some of the bits in your earlier career as well, but just when you talked about that there, about how certain producers, maybe, and I'm not asking you to name names or what have you, but when you were really, that star was really on the rise initially, and, you were involved with so many different artists and people were pushing you, record companies pushing you to work with different projects, different styles. Did you find that you were sort of coming across some people like that were almost trying to shoehorn you into like a genre or a style or a package that maybe didn't feel like it was authentically you at the time?
Yeah, sometimes I felt like a guinea pig, It's like, you go into a studio and they're like, oh, let's try this, let's experiment, let's waste, days on trying to find something. And oh, you're a guitar player, a female guitar player, this is a kind of a gimmick, it's interesting. It's like, I felt like it was very weird, and let's do a pop song with beats and and some stuff was really cool and it worked out and whatnot, but other times it was just like, man, like I wasted a lot of time doing stuff with producers that didn't know what the hell they were doing, and they were just trying to, and so, and I kind of knew back then, but I didn't want to, but I didn't know because I wasn't kind of old enough to make a decision. Like I was kind of, let's just go with it and be open-minded. I still am now, open-minded and collaborating, but I like people that are really, set in who they are and what they want, what they bring to the table and everything. And because when I write a song, I know this is the way the song is, I want it to sound. Because I sketch things out myself in my studio. So when I bring in the demos, I want them to make them better. I want them to bring them to life. And that's what Kevin does. And working with Eddie Kramer as well, like both of them, like Kevin Shirley to Eddie Kramer, they're both legends. And it's like, oh my gosh, like they're both incredible at what they do and the sounds. And when, Kevin's like, let's try this. I'm like, absolutely, let's try it. Or Eddie's like, let me dial in this guitar tone and do stuff like that. I mean, they're incredible. They truly are. So I'm learning a lot. And for me, it's like I want to keep on learning and getting better. So I want to be around people that, are older than me as well, that have been through it, have also just experience and knowing, like, I like the old school way of doing things as much as like, pop radio is cool. And I love like all the new sounds and how kids and computers are coming out with all these different, things with Pro Tools. And it sounds really awesome, like whatever's on pop radio. But there's nothing like putting on a vinyl record and listening to, the stuff that I grew up listening to, like, Band of Gypsies or Cream or Abraxas or, Fleetwood Mac. And you're in it's like you're in the room with them, right? And it's like the sound of their vocals has gravity. Fleetwood Mac, listen to their recording. The snare is almost as loud as Stevie's vocal. You know what I'm saying? Like the drums are almost as loud as her vocal, but that's the sound, right? So that's what makes that work, right? And I've studied a lot of like production things and what just the sound of each band or each record or each artist. It's very interesting, but finding the right producer to work with is really key, and
absolutely. And I think the fact that you've got such a great understanding of it, I mean, obviously you've got incredible natural talent and you've got those sounds in your head, but it's one thing to have that, to be able to translate it through the instrument or through production is another thing. Just to touch a little bit on there, what you're talking about with some of the old ways that things were recorded, and especially how they can sound on vinyl through a good system. I mean, I think these days the fact that so many people are listening to stuff not only super compressed or what have you, but might just listen to it on the phone. They might listen to it just while they're doing something else. They're not necessarily paying that much attention to it, but when you listen to great records on a great system, it's as if you can actually feel that space between the different individual people. That sound, that what's there's a phrase for it when the singer's over here and the drummer's over here and what have you. So that's clearly something that you want to be able to replicate. I think you're totally doing that from what I've been able to hear from these first tracks you've released as well. So congratulations on it.
Thank you so much. And it's exciting because going in and making that record and Some Kind of Feeling, which is coming out next year, and then also making this other record at the same time with Eddie Kramer and Cindy Blackman Santana, and also Rhonda Smith. We're doing a Band of Gypsies, which is all like trio with Eddie, and it's very cool. And it's like, but I'm writing for that, and I'm writing for my record, and so it's like doing both at the same time.
So the Eddie Kramer project is what?
I'm sorry.
The Eddie Kramer project, that's he's not involved in the new record, on your new record. That's something else, yeah?
That's something else. That's something totally different. That's coming out next year too. So there's a lot of stuff.
Wow.
But we're playing a big show in front of like 80,000 people in a couple of weeks. So with the trio. And then I'm going on tour with my band in Australia straight after that. We do, like 6 shows in Australia. Then I come back. Then I go to Saudi Arabia. Then I come back here. Then I go on tour with Alice Cooper for 10 dates, which actually was about 2 weeks or something, 2 or 3 weeks involved with him. Then I come back and then we put out the trio record with Eddie Kramer, and then I'm putting out my record around the same. So it's going to be, we'll figure out the timing of everything because there's only one of me, and it's kind of like I don't want to lose my mind. That's it.
That's why when I was speaking with the PR, I was like, I think I've got to get her now, because looking at what you're telling me she's got coming up, it's like I don't think I'll get a chance to speak to her after that. So it's.
I'm so excited about joining Alice to do these 10 shows. So anyone who is in the US and wants to like come check it out or whatever, like, it's going to be very cool. It's going to be really awesome. And, Nita is a dear friend of mine. She's amazing. And she brings that metal rock to the band, but I'm more like a blues rock player. So it's going to be kind of a different dynamic, I think, and change of sound for Alice too, kind of more of that old school sound with the boys and everything. So it's going to be fun. And then,
it's got to feel like deja vu, like stepping into it. How did it come about that you ended up back with it with Alice? Was that just a call sort of out of the blue, and then you thought, why not? Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly that. It was a call. It was an email I think I got, and then I was like, and I was texting with Cheryl and Alice. I'm like, absolutely, because I did a charity thing with Alice not too long ago in Phoenix, and then. I also did I played at Eddie Trump's birthday party with Alice. And so that, it kind of all just came together. And anytime Alice calls me on there, he's like family. He's incredible. He's a legend. He's one of my favorite people. He's always in the same mood every day. And he gives 110% all the time on stage, and I love it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were just talking with Tommy quite recently, about his solo record. And of course, he's done so much with Alice over the years. And he says the same thing. He says that's the most surprising thing about Alice, is that he's just always in a good mood. And even if there's something bad that's happening on the tour, it's like he'll never show it. He's just a kind of ray of positivity, I suppose. Why not when you're as talented and successful as Alice? But anything in particular surprising, knowing Alice all these years and working with him, what was something that would be surprising about working with Alice on tour that people might not realise?
He loves shopping. He loves going to malls and shopping for women's clothing, because not for himself, but for his daughters and his wife. And he is such a great family guy. He's such a dedicated golfer as well. And he makes stronger coffee than I could ever make. So it's like jet fuel. He makes stronger.
Fair enough. Maybe that's the secret to the positivity right there. A little bit of caffeine.
I make strong coffee, but he'd always get up earlier than anybody on the bus, so he'd make the strongest pots for everyone. And I was like, whoa, wake you up. And it gets the heart going for sure. But yeah, he's a very special human, and so is his wife, Cheryl, and the whole band. They're just awesome, like my brothers. So this is going to be a fun run.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I wish you were bringing it over here as well. It'd be great to see. Now, talking about collaborations, of course, you've got fantastic collaborations with brands as well, and you've just got this new amazing, because we've just got it in the studio, that's going to be featured in the next issue as well for Nick Jennison's going to be doing a review of it, but it's the Oriverb that you've done with Orange. So just talk us through how this collaboration came to be. Obviously you've been working with these guys for a little while, so why now with the Oriverb with Orange?
So Pat Foley is a very dear friend of mine. He used to work at Gibson, and then we moved over to Orange, and we were talking about doing an amp for like a really long time. And I don't know, he just really believed in my idea that I had to make the sort of old school sounding. I mean, the amps do sound old school, but I wanted to sound even more old school, kind of, with my tone, really honing on it with the reverb there's quite a few different things that we did with the amp, and that is to make it like warmer sounding. It does sound a little bit like I would say a Dumble, but it kind of does. Like I put it next to a lot of Dumbles, and it kind of does have that sound where you could break it up, and that old Marshall sound, really old Marshall sound, and it's kind of, but it still has that British blues sound of the orange too, the integrity of that, which is very distinct. So it has like these three, like, you know, my favorite amplifiers ever. Also, you know, the old Mesa Boogies too, and we kind of just like went over my tones, because I'd always have to dial in the amps to a certain way to make them sound how I wanted them, but I wanted this to be really easy to dial in, you know, so it was kind of like, I'll just adjust this slightly, and then, or the way it's set is my tone. But it responds very well to every guitar plugged into it. So my 335 sounds amazing to do it, to my purple PRS here that I have, or Flying V, or whatever you play at Strat. It really amplifies the personality of the guitar and the guitar player. So it's like, I don't know, it's a really well-made amp, and I'm not just saying it because it's mine. But, you know, we spent a long time on this thing. I had like 4 or 5 prototypes that I sent back, and we went back and forth, and it wasn't right yet. And, you know, I didn't want to put out a product that I wasn't like completely behind. Like, this is what I actually use in the studio. Like, this is what I actually use live on stage. And I got to tell you, the Crush model as well is freaking awesome. Like the mini ones, and they're not very much money at all, but they sound incredible. Like, I recorded with it the other day. I used it for Victoria's Secret so performance.
Oh wow! I used a little Crush amp, so it was crazy. Like, you know, because it was such a on the fly sort of thing that we were doing so many rehearsals and traveling and everything. I wanted to use. I couldn't transport my big amp, you know, or anything like that. So I just had my mini amp, and we ran the tracks with that amp. So, and it sounded so good. I mean, it sounded like a tube amp. And then when I heard it back, it's like, oh, cool. Like, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I'm going to tell you, it's just, not saying it's just as good as a big one, because the big one is obviously a tube amp. It sounds amazing for big shows and, you know, whatnot. But the small one is awesome for recording. And of course, you wouldn't be prepared to put your name on it unless you were proud of it. But it's amazing to hear that, because obviously we know from, you know, your long history with different amps and combinations of amps. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, for you to sort of put your name to something really means something, because we've seen you pick up so many different brands, guitar-wise, and the same. I mean, I know you have such a strong affiliation with PRS, but we've seen you with, you know, Gibsons and what have you as well over the years. But amp-wise, you know, we've seen you get blends of amps, particularly in the studio. So you're kind of saying there with the Oriverb, that's almost like what's happening there. It's like, you're, rather than having to get multiple amps to blend that sound that's the Orianthi sound, you can just get it with the one.
Exactly, yes. And because I was losing my mind going over amps. So, I mean, you know, I've been through so many different amplifiers over the years, and, you know, and some of them were good, but some of them were like just beastly and crazy and blowing up, and it's like, oh my God, and then it's not reliable. And, you know, there's a lot of questionable YouTube videos out there of amps I've used that the sound is just horrible. And it's like, I don't want them to take it down because it's like too static, or it's too boomy, or it's too much gain. And even though I had the gain down, it's like so like static and crazy. And this one just responds well. So if you want to turn your volume down, the gain will come down with it. And then you can, you know, I usually control my leads and everything with the volume instead of going over and hitting a pedal. I do have pedals, like I do have my like chorus, and I have my, you know, flanger, and I have my delays and my, you know, wah. Sure. Aside from that, I don't have, and sometimes I use my clon, and I, you know, got that clon a long time ago, and it's an old one and it sounds great, and that's just in the studio, but not live. I don't use my clon live. It's just all distortion from the amp. It's very like, you know, just straight in and to the point. But yeah, and I'm very much like that. I don't want too much stuff going on because it freaks me out, because in case like something breaks down, or you never know, right?
Of course. No, it makes perfect sense. Look, that Flying V that's sitting next to you, I've got to ask about that, because I did see you put up a post a couple of days ago, and yes. You know, you teased everyone with that. Obviously, you got your order in early to get one of those already. So talk us through what we're looking at there.
This was a very, very special gift from a very good friend of mine, and it's number 2 ever made. of the Love Drops flying V. So
Incredible.
I just got this today, and I love it. It just got set up. My tech came over and set it up, and yes, I absolutely love this guitar. I'll be using this probably for the show coming up. We're playing in front of like 80,000 people in like two weeks. People will see
Incredible.
it. And this is my PRS that I've had for a very, very long time. This is my number one. And it's just one piece of Brazilian rosewood. So it's very heavy, but it's, and Paul's magical pickups. He still hasn't told me what he put in his pickups, but they're amazing. So, yeah.
Well, you see, this is the thing with Paul. You know, it would be great to really peer inside his head, because I think I've kind of got a feeling that over the years he's had pickups in his hands that maybe he's not supposed to have had, you know, like that maybe have been in other famous guitar players, because he's so connected, you know, and the reason he can't probably say is because he'd be divulging his sources. So.
I think Paul, honestly, he's like Dumble was.
Yeah.
Paul is. You know what I mean? Like Les Paul, like all these people. Paul is such a incredible creator. He's a great guitar player too. But he's obsessive about sound. He is a great guitar player, and I just jammed with him up in Maryland. But we've jammed for many years, and he's so dedicated to the art of creating and chasing sounds, you know. So he will sit there, and I had an idea for a guitar ages ago, which is kind of funny, but I won't tell you too much about it. But anyway, it didn't turn out because it was a crazy idea I had, but Paul ran with me with it, and, you know, he was trying to get it going. But we ended up settling on the Lotus Bloom guitar, which came out, which was beautiful as that burst, and it was amazing. But with his pickups, no, he goes through with every part. I mean, it's definitely, he's not taking from anybody else, I can tell you that. He's definitely inspired by different sounds, but he's very original. Like, he will sit there and create. I've been into the factory before. I've been into his work, his office. He's like a mad scientist. He's got all these like drawings and things he's putting together to make it sound this way. Like, I love this pickup, but let's try this, making it, you know. So he does everything, very attention to detail. Paul is just incredible creator, innovator, and he, you know, he should be celebrated as like, and I think he is. I mean, you know, as like, you know, when the Fender or you know, Les Paul came out, right? It's like Paul Reed Smith has created the guitar that embodies a lot of different things, which is almost like a mix of a Fender and a Gibson, but it's its own thing, right? So it you know, these guitars, born the same year I was, 85. I'll be at the, you know, 40th anniversary soon. They just have something about them, that the comfortability aspect of them, you know, each one has a different personality to them as well, like a Strat, you know, and depending on the year as well. Like, this one was made about 10 years ago now, 11 years ago. So this has a different personality to the, you know, other models I have around here as well. And they just, you know, the older, I got one from the 80s when I was like 11. I think the first PRS I got was a 1987 model, or 1980 model. And it was super heavy, super different, really thin necks. The pickups were a little hotter, and it was a different sound. But because of Carlos Santana playing them, I really wanted one. So me and my dad found one. And country guitar player he actually was from America, and he moved to Adelaide, Australia in the hills. So we went and found this guy and bought the guitar off him, and he had it in the newspaper, in the classifieds of selling a PRS. Went, let's go down there, let's check it out. And it was a lot of money back then, I mean, you know, for this guitar. And he had this big country belt that he used to wear, and he scratched the back of it. And I still have it. I'm going to go play it, actually. I'm heading back to Australia, and I might use it on stage because it was my first ever PRS. And they all have, my point is Paul is such an innovator. He's so dedicated to the art of creating and chasing sounds and bettering himself with his tones, which I don't think he could do, because all the guitars are so incredible. And they're like the new vintage guitars, because I don't really take my vintages out on tour. Like, I'll play them in LA, but I won't take them on the road. Like my 335, I got a 63 335, and or 62 335, and then you know, my 63 Strat.
Strat as well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, love. And then I've got my Super 400, and then I have 59 Strat, and then, quite a few others SG. Then I have like a 60, I think it's a 62 Tele. And then I have I've got that bug of been bitten by the vintage thing because of personalities I have in the studio, but some of them just don't stay in tune. They're temperamental as hell, and you can't, and plus you don't want someone stealing that because it's like a car essentially, and
well, that's irreplaceable. Do you find with some of these vintage instruments that are like that, that are a little bit temperamental, do you like that fight with them where you've kind of got like this almost limited time to get something out of them? It's almost like, burnt, like when someone's making a film and they're using old stock or film reel, it's like there's a time to capture it, and you get it now, and then it's great, and then in 5 minutes it might be out of tune. So you got to capture it, in the moment.
You know what? It gives me great anxiety, and I hate that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I used it this studio the other day. I was using, I can't remember which one it was, but I was like, okay, let's get this take now, because it's gonna go out of tune. And the air conditioner came on, and I was like, oh hell no. And then it went out of tune. I was like, oh, that was a good take, but it was out of tune. Damn it. So, it's like that. You know what I mean? It's a love-hate relationship. But when you get it, and the tone is something else, you know what I mean? Especially the 335 stays in tune, which is great. And so does a 63 Strat. But, there's some others I have. Like I have an 1800s Martin acoustic, which I got redone. That hardly stays in tune, but when you get it in tune, it sounds amazing. It sounds like that Robert Johnson sound. But even to get a couple of chords down, it's like, oh my God, okay, nobody move. You know what I mean? It's
keep that away from Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, it's like nobody breathe in this room. You're ashamed to
no. Absolutely. We've got to talk about your playing, Ori, because such a great player. And we're not even touched on just how creative you can be with the instrument. For you, how has it evolved in terms of like constructing solos? Because it feels to me now when I listen to this new stuff that it's all just like talking for you, like it's just almost like there's a lot of improvisation that's involved, but it feels very, very fresh. Has that always been the case with you, where you just sort of, you get the sound in your head that you're kind of looking to find phrasing wise, and then you just let that come out as you play?
Yeah, I mean, we try to capture like the first couple of, solos, and keeping the energy, high, and everything for me is everything, because if I overthink too much, then I don't like my solo. But then sometimes I do structure solos, so they like songs within songs. I used to do that a lot with the pop record I made early on. And I also think that some solos need to be structured, like they really do. And then others, you just kind of go through them and go, okay, this is cool. Like I know where I'm going to start, I know where I'm going to end, and it's going to go somewhere here. And it depends on the energy in the room too. So I like to have like my friends around, or I like to have working out of Robbie Krieger's studio, Robbie comes in sometimes and he'll just be sitting in the corner, and I'll turn around, I'm doing a song, like, oh my gosh, Robbie's here. Like, I have to play better. So, he makes me play better. And just having, people around, like sometimes I don't like too many guitar players being in the room, because it's like, it gets weird. You know what I mean? But I like it when there's, maybe one, and then the producer and some of my friends. And then it's kind of like you're putting on a performance. That way it doesn't feel too like, oh, I'm in the studio, I can relax a bit. I kind of like that performance aspect of capturing. Absolutely.
When you say weird with the too many guitar players, do you mean from a perspective that guitar players will maybe analyse more the technical aspects as opposed to just how great it sounds musically?
Yeah, I think sometimes, because, like some of my guitar playing friends, not all of them, but some of them, they just overanalyze everything. And I'm like, it gives me a headache. I'm like, so I'm like, you just play. You know what I mean? It's like, and they go, oh, like playing this mode or this mode. And I'm like, I don't know. I've learned all the modes and I don't know what the hell I'm playing half the time. So, and it's mostly pentatonic anyway, because I gravitate towards that. But everyone's like, you play so much pentatonic stuff. And sometimes I read comments, and it's kind of funny. And they're like guitar players, on my Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Sure. Well, like, you just play one thing all the time. You just play. I was like, because I want to, I have studied music, like I have done other things, and if they go back into my catalog, I have played on a Bollywood record, which I had to do freaking Indian scales, and I have played on country records where I did a bunch of country, and whatever. But it's kind of like, it's interesting to me. I just go, okay, whatever. But some people, as I said, just overthink things, or they like to, it's like, I don't know. For me, I just go, you either like it or you don't. You're going on a feeling of, it's all about like just putting everything into everything you do and just being authentic to yourself, and just not overanalyzing anything. I think that's the biggest destroyer of joy in life and everything, is when you overanalyze or overthink. And I'm guilty of that. That's why some days I'm just like, oh no, I don't even want to that's why I go running, or I get out of my head, or I do something, just to get away from music for a minute. And then that way I can come back to it and just get into it without over analyzing too much.
Do you think that that's more of a challenge now than when you were doing, when you did Violet Journey in 2007, there was no social media. Well, there was like MySpace and stuff, but it's not like the way it is now, where you're always, I'm sure you're just like the rest of us, your phone's never far away from you. So does that make it harder to get out of your own head and overanalyzing things personally?
Sometimes, I've trying to take a break from Instagram. I used to be on there all the time. Now I just post and leave it, which, and I do, I don't know why, I'm just getting a bit weirded out by it in a way, because it takes up so much time, and then you're watching everyone's lives and all that stuff. It's not real. It's not real. You know what I mean? And people always think, oh, your life is so great. It's so easy. It's so all this. I'm like, yeah, I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful for my life, but I work really hard and do 8 or 9 hour days in the studio, and constantly I'm working and all that stuff and traveling. So it's not all like awards shows and guitars coming out and amplifiers coming out of nowhere. And, it's funny, and people just go, oh, it's just so cool. And I appear on these award shows or TV shows or in different exotic places that I'm playing or whatever, or just touring. It's funny because I just go like, yeah, that's cool and all, but it was funny. I just played Rock in Rio with Carol G, and that was nearly 200,000 people. It was wild. But amazing. The crowd that happened prior to me playing that was insane. They wouldn't accept my passport. I had to get a new passport within a day. It was crazy. And then I had to get on this flight, which literally flew me right in, literally a few hours before I had to get on stage. And I got on stage and I was I didn't even know where I was. Had a shot of freaking tequila, got on there playing. I was like, all right, let's wake up here, let's do this. And then there's 200,000 people. I'm playing with one of the biggest pop stars in the world, and then get on a plane straight after that and come back here, then start a tour. So it was insane. I didn't know where I was for it took me about a month to recover from that, because it was just too much. It was a 20-hour flight both ways, and then for a 10-minute performance or 15-minute performance,
Sure. Intense. Look, you've done so much, Orianthi, in your career, all these different, you've got your brand new record that's going to be dropping 2 records in the new year. And of course, you've got all your great solo records previous and all the collaborations that you've done and what have you. What is the next dream? Do you ever take time to think about that? I've done so much. What's the goal beyond this?
I would love to do more collaborations. I would love to do a song with Post Malone. That would be really cool. I'm a big fan of his. I would love to do a song with Teddy Swims. That would be really cool, because I think he's awesome. And then Taylor Swift. I love her. I think she's awesome. I saw her not too long ago at some award show, and we got to say hi to each other. She's amazing. And I love collaborating with different artists, so doing more collaborations like that, and then working on films. I love to eventually get into just scoring, working on film soundtracks later when I'm not really wanting to tour that much, and then producing other artists, and then it's just doing different things. I love working on different products as well. I'm very much into health and wellness and all that as well. Okay. So yeah, I'm very much into keeping your mind and your body, spirit, everything is all aligned. So I just feel promoting that a healthy way of living is really important to me as well. Just there's so many different things. Honestly, it's endless. And and helping animals and just getting more into just different things later on that that don't really involve music. But I think right now, I mean, and I will be doing music for the rest of my life, of course, but like, you know, there's just so much stuff going on, and it's wild and it's fun and it's awesome. And these 2 records coming out. So, you know, Some Kind of Feeling coming out, you know, next year. And then the record with Eddie Kramer coming out next year. That's going to be awesome. So there's a lot of, it's going to be a really, really interesting and fun 2025.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt. And then final one, talking about all those collaborations, you know, you've collaborated with legends, you've collaborated with new up and coming artists. What do you think has been the best piece of advice you've had off one of these legends, whether it be back, you know, when you were 15 playing in front of Steve Vai, or those initial meetings with Carlos Santana, or, you know, Richie, and, you know, the list is endless. So, you know, what's the best advice you've had?
Never stop learning. Never, you know, and I think that's something that, like, every day, like, I'm wanting to learn something new with the people I'm working with. They're all legends and they're incredible. And with Carlos Santana being, you know, like family, he's like my other dad, honestly, out here. And he's sending me stuff all the time. Like, he sends me playlists, and I'm ever so grateful for that, because, you know, I learn, you know, just different, I don't know, whether it be a jazz record he sends me or whatever, and I play along with it, so different at core. Or, you know, sitting in with Robbie Krieger and watching what he's playing. It's totally out of the box, totally different. You know, it's, and then working with people like Eddie Kramer and Kevin Shirley and these incredible producers who, you know, just, I don't know, like, I want to better myself as a singer, songwriter, guitar player, everything. There's so much room for improvement for myself. I don't look at other people, because the worst thing you can do as an artist is compare yourself to anybody, because, like, I can't sing like Bonnie Raitt. I can't sing like Adele. I can't, you know what I mean? No matter how many hours I put into trying to sing like that, I would never be able to sing. And nor I can't play guitar like Steve Vai. Like, you know, he's incredible. Like, I can't, that's not my thing. I could never do that, you know? And no matter how many hours I put into it, it's just like, that's their fingerprints. That's who they are, right? So they're in their own lane. I think keeping in your own lane and bettering yourself, because there's only one of everybody and there's room for everyone too. So I think that's where a lot of artists kind of get all messed up, where they kind of like compare and they want to, or you know, just like looking at what other people are doing. It's like, if someone's successful, that's amazing. That means, like, it's possible. Like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? That's the way you should look at it. And I think the mentality should be more that way and celebrated that way more on social media than, oh, look who, you know, this person's done that. And it's like, that's awesome. That means that it's possible for everybody to do that if you set your, you know what I mean? If you work really hard, you take inspired action towards something, you can manifest anything you want in life with your mindset. And I know this for a fact, because whenever I'm at a low vibration, things won't happen. Things will not happen. If you're at a high vibration, that means you're excited about something, and that could be like just being grateful for the small things, hang out with your friends, getting outside, doing things that bring joy. So you're vibing at a different frequency that attracts things to you. And I know it could sound foofy to people, whatever. I'm just saying it. It's the truth. It's happened for me. It's happened to a lot of people that I work with that, you know, get opportunities coming to them. It's because, you know, if you have that high vibe, you're truly happy for other people and their successes and everything. And you know, you just kind of let go of things, forgiving yourself, others, whatever. This business is so crazy. Like, you have, you know, onslaught of people I deal with daily, you know, truly. I deal with so many people daily that some of them give me a headache. Some of them I love. You know, at the end of the day, it's going, okay, I'm here amongst my guitars, the Zen, and I try to end each conversation peacefully and just go, okay, this is just, you know, stay calm, Zen here. Everything's good, because it usually works out. Yeah.
Look, Orianthi, I really appreciate you taking so much time today. You know, congratulations on all these new projects you got coming out. I can't wait for us to hear them when they're going to drop. And, you know, good luck being back with Alice. I hope you have a blast.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you really soon. I think I'm coming back to the UK in June. So the dates will be put out really soon.
Perfect. So, well, we'll be sure to share that. Look, thanks again, and speak again soon. Thank you.
See you later. Have a great day.
Bye.
Take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.